Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin Bees. I am a wife. I'm a military veteran. I'm a mama of two, and I spent 13 and a half years in multi-level marketing. I healed my way out of it, and here I am sharing my story. We have a video today that is... I've been trying to wrap my head around how I was going to do this video. Let's just be honest, okay? Yeah. Anyways, if you think about that for a second, if you are brand new to my channel, hello, I'm so glad that you're here. If you have been here since I relaunched my YouTube channel, what is up? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys so much. I would love for you guys, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Go ahead and you can give this video a thumbs up, drop your comments, drop your questions, share it with a friend if you feel so inclined to do that. And just a friendly reminder that anything I discuss in this video is based off of my opinion. It is based on my story and my experiences. And I think that with this video, there it is, being the topic that it is and the pieces that I'm going to be discussing today, I think that it's really important that I talk about the intention of this video. This is not meant to shame anybody. There were lots of people that were involved in this scenario, and everybody except for one is not a public figure. So I am protecting all of them. They will be blurred out. My intention with this video is to share my perspective, to share, I guess, my side of the story. What happened? You know, why were a group of us terminated? And while I can't speak for the others because everybody's going to have their own experience, I can share my experience. I can share the things that I have seen and gone through. And so that's the whole purpose of this video, is for me to share that, because there's been a lot of stories circulating around this very topic. And so I'm going to answer that today, and I'm pretty excited about it. So make sure that you like, make sure that you comment, make sure that you share, and also subscribe while you're here. You can also follow me on social media. I'm probably the most active on Instagram right now. So @TheRealBeastMode is where you can find me. I'm going to put it here so you can check it out. And I would love to have you follow me there. This is a part 2. This is a part 2. So if you have not watched part 1, make sure that you click up here somewhere. I still haven't figured out where it goes. But anyways, click up here somewhere. Make sure that you watch part 1 before you dive into this part 2 video. In part 1, I talk about Modere, the history, all of the things. We go into the comp plan. It's truly a deep dive. And then part 2 is my termination, how I was terminated from Modere. So we're gonna jump on in. And again, everything discussed in this video is my opinion based off my story and based off of my experience. And just because it's fact for me doesn't mean that it's fact for anybody else. We all have our own experiences. So let's rewind. Rewind to May 2017. I went to an event that Modere was holding in I think it was Salt Lake City. It was in Utah. I know that. And it was a company training event. I was receiving an award, and I'm gonna hit all the things because I talk with my hands. So we're just gonna keep it moving. But I won some awards for, I believe it was sales. I don't remember exactly. And so I knew that I was going to be able to walk across stage, which was really, really exciting. And the way that they had it set up was they had like the CEO, and they had different leadership roles that, like, you shook your hands. It kind of reminded me of the military, actually, like the take, shake, salute. When you know, you know. And so you walk across the stage, you shake everybody's hands, and you walk down the stage, and there's somebody there that helps you off the stage, because a lot of us were wearing heels and dresses, and it was a formal event. And when I was walking down the stairs, there was somebody there that I knew who this person was, but I had never met him in person. So the first time that I'm kind of interacting with him is when I'm coming off the stage in front of a huge audience. And he gave me this really, really big hug. And I'll just be honest with you, it made me really, really uncomfortable at the time. It made me really uncomfortable, but I was in front of, I don't even know how many people, and I didn't know how to handle that. And so I walked off the stage. I was very uncomfortable. And by the way, I'm not going to mention his name. He's not a public figure. So, I'm just not going to mention his name. Okay. So for me, I always ask people when I'm first meeting them if they're a hugger, because of this scenario. So after that was like, oh, wow, not everybody's going to be comfortable. And so I always ask if somebody is okay. Like, are you a hugger? And if not, that's okay. Like, we can high five. Of course, this is prior to COVID, because of that scenario and how uncomfortable I was. And I just didn't know how to handle it. So after that event, in one of the leadership chats that I was a part of, there were several women that actually mentioned kind of the same thing. They, maybe, I don't want to speculate, but they just mentioned similar scenarios where they just were uncomfortable. Do I think that he had bad intentions? No. Did I think that it was, I don't think it was done on purpose. I think that it was a scenario that just made people uncomfortable, and we're in a business setting. So you don't typically see hugs kind of happening. It's usually a handshake or a high five or a different thing like that. There's boundaries. And I feel like this is kind of where business and MLM are a little bit different, because the lines are blurred, because, oh, we're family and and it can be kind of confusing. And so this is just, again, my personal experience, and I'm not going to name him. However, in this leadership chat, there were several other people that had mentioned that they were uncomfortable with, I don't want to say encounter, because that sounds really bad, but in some kind of interaction with this person. So we'll just leave it at that. And then right before all of this kind of, happened at the event, and then in the leadership chat, there was an accusation made, and I don't remember how it was found out. I don't remember who. And even if I did know who, I wouldn't be mentioning their names. But they basically found out that this person was, according to Jesse Lee Ward, public figure, that he was plagiarizing scripts that Jesse Lee had written, and a kind of getting started checklist that she had supposedly put together, which was, you join as a new social marketer in Modere. And this is the checklist to kind of get you started and get you, get your business up and running. So she was accusing him of plagiarizing that and using it in his team's group. And in my opinion, I think this is where this person became a target for her, because here she had some of her leaders saying that there were things that made them uncomfortable. And now on top of that, she had this accusation of him plagiarizing things that she had created. I will say that I have seen this several times with top earners, specifically with Jesse Lee, in both Modere and in Pruvit, because she has to be number one. So that part is my opinion. Okay. But I have seen this kind of sabotaging behavior. I don't know. What would you guys call that in the comments? Let me know. But I've seen it definitely in Modere, clearly. And also I've seen it in Pruvit. So I think that this is just part of who she is. And Yeah. So that was in May of 2017. And by the way, some of my dates may be a little bit off. There were so many moving pieces, and you'll see that here soon. There were so many different things that it's hard to kind of pinpoint. I'm trying to just narrow it down to the most important things and answer the questions that I'm pretty sure you guys are going to have. So let's fast forward to June. After the plagiarism and after leaders expressing that they were uncomfortable with a leader in Modere, now there were accusations being made by Jesse Lee that he was abusing substances, he was cheating on his wife, and was called, and I'm not going to use the exact term, but I'm going to use an abbreviation, an SA, and a child without a father, if you will, I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. And again, in my opinion, this came from some of the comments that were in that chat that we were talking about, because I think that she felt, in my opinion, she had some fuel to kind of get behind this thing, because he was, in her eyes, stealing her content, her intellectual property, if you will. And I think that's when he kind of became a target. Jesse Lee was suspended in June of 2017, June 24th to be exact, and Modere started an investigation. So in that time frame, soon after that, Modere held a company call about her, about bullying, about the culture of the company. And they asked for people to send in documentation showing, like screenshots or different things that are showing other, I'm going to say distributors, they call them social marketers, but other social marketers, distributors that were bad mouthing others, that were de-edifying, that were, basically anywhere that was not showing the culture of the company. They created an email and they wanted everybody to send in that documentation. So what we were asked to do as part of her leaders was to send in screenshots of other people, whether they were on the team or not, and situations where they were bad mouthing customers, other team members, company, any situation with the company, back orders or whatever. And then also we were asked to edify Jesse Lee in that email. And so those emails were sent by leadership to Modere after this call was done. And at that point, we were being asked to gather information. We were asked to screenshot, because what this created was a divide. It created this divide in the company. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But within the team strategy, or the team, I don't even know what to call it, there's team chats. So if you have watched the part 1 of this, there are ranks that you can hit through sales, and there are ranks that you can hit through team building or recruiting with Modere. And there were chats for each of those areas. So whether it was sales or team building or whatever, there were different chats where you could find accountability buddies, or you could just find people that had similar goals. And in my opinion, I think it was also so that leadership could see who was actually working, like who's engaged, who's showing up. And these are the people that we're going to spend time on. I could do a whole nother podcast on just that. And I mean that as a blanket statement in multi-level marketing, not just on this team. So let me know in the comments if that is something that you want to hear, because I think that I'll just leave it at that. They use it to justify who they spend time on and with. Okay. This person, this male leader within Modere that was targeted, was added to these chats at this time. So Jesse Lee was suspended. He gets added, and there is absolute chaos and panic within the leadership chat while Jesse Lee was suspended. And so I'm actually going to show screenshots of a couple different scenarios. So this first one is going to be the screenshot of Jesse Lee finding out that this person was being added, and she was trying to get all of us leaders. And we were trying, because again, like, you have to go back to the mindset specifically that I was in. I didn't understand why this was all happening. I didn't have the full story. I didn't understand what the situation was, but I knew that my leader, my mentor at the time was suspended, and it felt very much like she was under attack. But I didn't understand where it all came from. Now I understand where it all came from. So at the time when, these people that are supposed to be kind of like attacking her were being added to the chat, we were trying to get them removed and trying to figure out who was responsible for adding them and then removing them. And then it was this like back and forth, adding and removing until finally we were like, well, I don't know what we can do. And he was in all the chats, and other leaders were in the chats. And I say leaders with Modere. And so they were seeing all of the things. And this is a screenshot of like the chaos and the panic, just to give you guys kind of a taste of what was happening. This was actually something that was provided in the Dropbox, and I'll talk about the Dropbox here shortly. But there was this sense of panic. There was this sense of what's going on. I don't understand. Jessie Lee was asking people to collect information and screenshots. She was asking for this to be put in the Dropbox in an attempt to show that she was actually the one that was being bullied, which seems to be, in my opinion, kind of the go-to, right? That's just my opinion. Let me know if you guys are seeing that too, that behavior over and over again. So then going back, this is, in my opinion, I just feel like all of this was a smokescreen to many things, and I'll kind of tie this all up at the end. But one of the things was the statements that she made about this other leader within Modere that is listed in the lawsuit that you could easily Google. I think that it was a smokescreen, like, oh, I said this, but look at what they're doing. It's the classic, look at what they're doing, don't look at what I'm doing. And I feel like that's what all of this was. Again, names have been blurred in all of these screenshots that I'm going to be sharing because they are not public figures. And yeah, and when I say she, I mean Jessie Lee claims to this day that her phone and her computer were hacked. She hired a private investigator around this time, and also was telling all of us that she was being followed and that people were parking outside of her house. And at one point, national security was being involved and like all of this stuff. And none of it made sense. And it was so crazy and it was so chaotic. And there was so much fear wrapped around this that I couldn't even understand any of the pieces that were like, it just didn't make sense. I knew something was missing, but it was like, it was so crazy. It was like something out of a movie. And it's because that's the chaos that was meant to be created in this. So we didn't ask too many questions. Okay. Then we have August. So August of 2017, I qualified for a trip to Cancun for myself and my husband with Modere. I did receive a message at that time from Jessie Lee's former sponsor in Modere, and he messaged and was like, hey, are you still going to Cancun? I'm also going to insert this screenshot as well. He is blurred out because he's not a public figure. And he was asking if I was coming. He was like, we probably need to have a conversation and this and that. You can see in the screenshot. And that was where I asked him, because I had heard rumors of being able to cash out. Now, when I won this contest, you had to tell them within a certain time frame if you wanted to cash out or if you wanted the trip. And at the time, I wanted the trip. I wanted to go to Cancun with my husband. And with all of this kind of going on, you've got to remember I was fiercely, fiercely loyal to Jessie Lee at this time. And there was no way that I wanted to go on this Cancun trip with all of these people that I didn't understand why they were coming after her at the time. And so there was rumors of a cash out option, even though the time frame had passed. And so this was where I asked him about that. And he connected me with the right person. And these are the screenshots that showed that as well. And the very next notification that I got on my phone was an email from Modere corporate office that was saying that I was suspended and I was no longer eligible for the Cancun trip, even though I won it. So here I feel in my opinion, I feel like this was kind of a bait and switch. I feel like this was them saying, well, let's test everybody's loyalty, because if they take the cash out, they're probably not going to stick around. They're probably going to side with Jessie Lee. We can see exactly where where their loyalties lie. If they go to Cancun, they're loyal to us. I really feel like it was kind of a bait and switch on my former leader's leader. There you go. As far as downline in Modere, I feel like that was the whole point of that conversation. I know that he had sent this very same message to other people, and they were also suspended at this time too. So I think that was just, it was a bait and switch to see what we did, and testing whether we were loyal to Modere or loyal to Jessie Lee. So around this time, and again, the dates could be off a little bit. There was a group of people within the team that were also joining another multi-level marketing company called Direct Sellers. And so picture the chaos, okay? Because all of this is chaotic. There's like 15 stories within this one thing and I'm exaggerating with 15, but there was so much going on, and all of it was a smokescreen. So here we have going after the one person that was plagiarizing. And now we have another situation where there's a group of people that were wanting to or joined Direct Sellers, which is another multi-level marketing company that were also part of the leadership chat. And Jessie Lee wanted us to find out if that was happening, because she was trying to prove that they were cross-recruiting, which you can't do in multi-level marketing, but we know that they all do it. That's why all the lawsuits happen. And ultimately wanted to get them terminated. So these were the people that were, how do I want to word this? They weren't necessarily loyal to Jessie Lee. So yet again, we have another scenario where these are people that became targets. And again, another smokescreen to prevent the actual situation that was going on, which I'm going to tell you about at the end of this video. And again, that's just in my opinion. So in August of 2017, there was an event put on by Eric Worre here in Vegas called Beyond Leadership. Jessie Lee and I attended. And right after that was when she flew to Modere headquarters in Utah for a meeting, and that's where she was terminated. And right after she was terminated, and she says this too, she was getting in the elevator and her phone rang, and it was Eric Worre with advice. And then she flew to her now upline's house in Dallas within Pruvit. Now upline in Pruvit's house, you know what I'm saying. And in my opinion, I think this is where the court case began, because here's what happens. In multi-level marketing, and I know I've talked about this on other videos, but in multi-level marketing, when you have a leader that leaves one company and goes to another company, what'll happen is the former company probably is going to sue that person and the new company. The new company goes, oh man, this is $1 million earner, and so we want to make sure that we defend them. So the new company pays for the legal fees of the distributor, and they go to battle, and it's all basic, like it's all, it's what happens all of the time. This is where the cross recruiting comes in and all of this stuff. And I talked about the Modere lawsuits in part 1 too, if you guys recall that. And they were all pretty much based off of breaking the contract, cross recruiting, all of those types of things. It happens all of the time. So when Pruvit, when we joined Pruvit backed our legal fees. They paid for the legal fees against this person in Modere, and that's how that works. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But anyways, so she flew to Dallas and stayed at the house of her leader now in Pruvit. And in my opinion, that's where all of the kind of court case, the strategy, and all of that stuff happened, because that's where the warehouse and stuff for Pruvit is. They're located in Dallas. It's actually a smaller town, Van something. Anyways, so September, we joined Pruvit. On September 21st is when I joined Pruvit. We flew out to headquarters in Dallas on the 26th of September. All of it was paid for. And if you haven't watched my Why I Left Pruvit video, I'm going to link it here so that you can check it out. It answers probably all of your questions, why I left after 13 and a half years, why I left after almost 3.5 years with Pruvit, the things that I was seeing, the things that I didn't like, the things that I was experiencing, and it's super honest. It's based off of my experience. So I'm gonna link that here so you can check that out if you haven't already seen it. I will say that we were sent a warning letter through Modere's legal team, through the person's legal team. We were sent a warning letter, and then within this group of leaders, we started to be served official court documents, and they were trying to subpoena our phones. They were trying to subpoena, seeing all of our messages, Facebook, all of that stuff. And in this document is where we were listed as Jane Does. And so they were basically like, hey, we're going to go to court. If you don't speak up, if you don't do something, we're going to go to court and you're going to have to testify, and we're, all of this stuff. And so they were wanting access basically to everything because they wanted to see what was happening in these chats. And we were told that, because a few days after that, when everybody started to get served, a few days after that, we were told that they wanted to settle, that he wanted to settle. And what I have found out since then is that it was actually the other way around. It wasn't Jesse Lee that wanted to settle, in my opinion. It was Jesse Lee that wanted to settle, not the other party, because we all know that image is everything. And I mean, maybe I shouldn't word it that way. In my opinion, I think maintaining her image is her top priority. And if all of that came out, if they had access to everything, then what would her image look like? And that's, again, just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. So we were terminated. I was terminated from late December 2017. And now we're getting to the point where I'm going to tie all of this up in a beautiful red bow with my final thoughts. I do believe that I was terminated for being part of this chaos. I do believe that I was terminated because I was mixed up with somebody that, in my opinion, has questionable ethics. I do believe that I was terminated because Modere had to try and figure out who was loyal where. And Jesse Lee was doing the same thing. She was trying to figure out, okay, I got terminated. Where are we going? And I said that to her at one point. I was like, where are we going? I think she was trying to see who was coming with her to rebuild. And I think that Modere was like, well, who do we have? And I can see both sides, especially now that I've stepped back and seen some of the stuff that I have seen. One of them being the Dropbox, and some of the conversations that weren't being had in the leadership chat, but were being had like one-on-one, has been very eye-opening for me. In my opinion, I think this was, again, a smokescreen to cover up what was really going on. And let me tell you what was really going on, because it wasn't this person that was plagiarizing. It wasn't these people going to direct sellers. It wasn't any of these things. What was really happening was Jesse Lee was having an extramarital affair with a corporate employee that was exposed to Modere by her own husband at the time. And anything that she could have done at that time to prevent that from getting out, she was going to do, in my opinion. There are people on this planet that are so concerned with their image that there's people that they're willing to sacrifice anything and everything, and including people around them, in order to maintain it. And I genuinely, in my opinion, think that this is the case here. When you have a situation that you don't want uncovered, it's much easier to create this chaos and this fear that is created so that you don't have the space to ask what's going on. It's also a strategy in multi-level marketing. Get on the Zoom, come to the event. We're doing working Zooms and this, and you have no time to question what is going on, and it starts slowly. And I do believe that this is that same kind of situation. She wanted to maintain her image. She wanted to maintain that, none of this was happening. So she created this whole story about, her stuff being hacked and the private investigator and being followed and, national security, and all of this stuff was just this unbelievable smokescreen that none of us could see through at the time. I shouldn't speak for anybody else, that I couldn't see through at the time. And it's embarrassing. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. It's embarrassing because I was making moves and I didn't have the whole story. And I have the whole story now. And I apologize publicly to anybody that I hurt in that scenario because of acting in a way that I thought was appropriate at the time. But I didn't have all of the pieces, and I do now. And I have been talking about this a lot, especially in the last few days. It's come up. I talked about on my podcast that I just recorded. What is the reason in doing a video like this? What is the reason in speaking out against MLMs? There's a quote by Maya Angelou, and it goes, "When you know better, you do better." And you know what? I participated in a model that hurt a lot of people. I participated in a team that hurt a lot of people. I participated in all of these things. And I can apologize, and I do, and I apologize often when I reconnect with somebody and they're like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry if I ever hurt you. I'm sorry if I was a part of this pain that you were caused by being in this scenario." And it's the only way that I know how to fix this stuff, is to educate, to share my story, because when you know better, you do better. So thank you, Maya Angelou, for that quote, because it keeps me going every single day. It keeps me going every single day through all of the messages and all of the things. So there you have it. That's why I was terminated from Modere. I am very grateful. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I am very grateful for all of it because I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about choosing who you surround yourself with, even though I wasn't done learning that lesson. It was a part of that lesson. And so for that, I'm grateful. Let me know what you think of the video. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to ask the questions. Share if you feel inclined to do that. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a good one, everybody. Bye, friends.